I'm very delighted to have with us today Professor Narendra Nayak, who is the President of Federation of Indian Rationalist Association and who has dedicated his life expelling superstition and spreading rationalism, critical thinking, atheism and humanism across the globe. Welcome, sir. We are glad to have you here. Sir, first I would like to know your association with Atheist Center.
It goes back to nearly, I think, 30 years. Wow. I can't say when it was. Sitting and having my breakfast with your grandmother and then going and putting my luggage in the room, because generally we used to arrive here from an early morning train and then come straight here.
Then you would be the best person to tell us about the relevance of Gora's positive atheism, the way you see it in the present society.
For example, when we give bags to a school, which you have been doing since nearly 2 decades, there's a slogan on that: hands that help are better than lips that pray.
Wonderful.
Develop scientific temper for the progress of mankind, I mean humankind.
Okay. So what do you think is the status of critical thinking, both nationally and at a global level?
See, wherever we look today, it looks like the forces of the right, the irrational forces are gaining ground. But it's not so. I see an undercurrent in the younger generation who are questioning, and from a selfish society, we are going to become more egalitarian as it was maybe 30-40 years back.
So do you mean to say that individuals are growing more and more rationalist and the systematic oppression is growing? Is that what you mean to say?
What I mean to say that the generation in whose hand the power is and the votes are going in a particular direction, but the younger generation in whose hand the votes are not there are going in the opposite direction.
Okay. So what are the challenges that they are facing today?
See, the challenges that we are facing today is countering the, say, Goebbelsian propaganda of the right-wing forces who are trying to create an impression among the so-called majority community that the so-called minority are an evil force out to annihilate them. And that is the way things are going on now. I'm not saying that the so-called minorities are very rational in their approach or the majority is very irrational in their approach. But what is happening is a systematic propaganda is making the people believe in things, particularly through media like WhatsApp, where you can cook up things, where you can Photoshop, where you can impose false audio over recordings and make people think that that is the truth.
In such a scenario, what are the ways and means that we can adapt as common people to assert ourselves?
To assert ourselves, we have to apply the same media. We have to use the same media. For example, I'm just telling you what happened 2 weeks back. Ramkishan Yadav, who is more popularly called as Baba Ramdev, who sells soaps and detergents and adds a drop of Gomutra and says it's the product of Gomata, the same saponified fatty acids and the same dodecyl benzene and sulfonate, to which he will add a drop of Gomutra and say it is the prasad of Gomata. That man in Mangalore gave a statement that Tulsi leaves stop radiation. It would be a little away from Mangalore. And the moment I got that statement, I hit back in the next day itself, experimentally demonstrating that Tulsi leaves can't stop radiation, but how aluminum foil stops radiation. And it got such a huge publicity. And after that, when I started going to schools, the children were laughing at what their parents did. I was telling them, see, it was your parents who were there. It was your parents who listened to that. They are saying, what nonsense. So I'm just giving a small example of what I did just 2 weeks back.
So proper use of the social media.
Proper use of the media, in which I think many of us older generation rationalists have failed.
Oh, okay. And do you see a relation between atheism and politics?
I would say rather go a little ahead and say humanism and politics.
Okay.
Those who tend more towards humanism, that's all we can say now.
Okay.
Because when there is an all-powerful God existing according to you, why does he need these ordinary mortals to protect him? And I'm saying him, mind you, because the God is always a paternalistic
Gendered.
God and a male God.
So, what do you think is the role of youth in our present society?
Everything. Everything.
Do you think they're living up to your expectation as, barriers of critical thinking?
I think I kept my expectations too high. I was extrapolating, well, if I'm like this, the next generation will be like that. But it's not happened so.
Why do you think it's not happening, sir?
Expediency. For example, I met perfect atheists. Say, for one day, uncle, we put up with this nonsense. Afterwards, you go back to the same old ways. I said, for a man like me who was not prepared to put up with that nonsense even for a second, this looks very strange. That why should you? People told me, after all, just do it for somebody's satisfaction. I said, no. Why should I do it? They said, for marriage, if an otherwise suitable partner you find, just put up with that nonsense. I said, no. In fact, I impose a precondition that if I am going to get married, it's going to be this way. No religious ceremony, no dowry, no give and take, no tying the tali, nothing, no going around the fire, nothing. Only special marriages act. And at that time I was told, 40 years back. But now the younger generation, I am saying, okay, put up with it. Just do some namaskar. That's one part of those younger generation. The other part of the younger generation is totally brainwashed by all these Sadgurus and these double misters and such people, wearing a fancy dress and with a fake accent. And people believe that what he says is the truth. I cannot say gospel truth, I would say Vedic truth. Because the Vedas are supposed to be infallible and irrefutable here. That is because of the opportunism of the ruling party which was in the ruling for 6 decades. They are not rational thinkers. They had some leadership which was rational, but if you see the rank and file is today in the same, all those fellows are today in the other party. That's what you are seeing, right? I see the same lumpen elements were in the Congress at one time, whom we were opposing during the emergency. The same lumpen elements are now in the BJP. If you take Mangalore as an example, Mangalore, the lower middle class, got self-respect. One because of Narayan Guru, other because of the trade union movement. When the generation of tile workers and cashew workers, they fought for their rights and they started getting fair wages and started educating their children. Other point was, during the emergency, Devaraj Aras brought the land reforms. He said the tiller is the owner of the land. And because of that, lot of people who were just what you call as mulgeni holders, tenants, they became owners of the land and they got their dignity. But these people have forgotten the very forces who gave them this dignity and are talking about Hindutva today. The very same oppressed classes, the OBCs and the SCs and the STs, are today priding themselves upon being Hindu, and they are being expertly manipulated by the Manuvadis to do their bidding. Because in Mangalore you find a lot of disturbances. The Go Rakshaks are there, those who get killed for being Go Rakshaks. The Go Rakshaks and those who get killed are all from the OBCs. You will never find an upper caste guy in that. The children of the upper castes are all in the Christian and Muslim countries, drawing fat salaries. While the children of the OBCs are facing court cases, they are spending sleepless nights patrolling the streets, and they are the foot soldiers of this Hindutva. We don't have an education system at all. What we have is a system of making you literate in a particular field. You are literate in engineering, you are literate in medicine or in physics or some other subject. But if you are really educated, you should be able to think, reason, which is never taught by this system.
What could be done to include that parameter in our formal education, sir?
What is happening in Delhi now is the right way. We educate the people, they start thinking. That's what these people never wanted. But when I go to the younger people, I see hunger for knowledge.
Yes, sir.
There are so many questions.
Yes.
When I mention some names, they've never heard of them. For example, I'll tell you somebody from near Vijayawada, Yallapragada Subha Rao. I think you people haven't heard of his name. Yallapragada Subha Rao. Subha Rao, his name is spelled as R-O-W, was from Vijayawada. And he has done such work in medical field that he deserved 5 Nobel Prizes.
Wow.
And you haven't heard of him. People from Vijayawada. You just Google it.
So true. So true. Sir, have you come across literature of the latest intellectual from Andhra, Mr. Kanche Ailaya?
Yeah.
He makes a statement where he says that all these minorities, we should identify ourselves into one category called Dalits. A Dalit and that category includes anyone who doesn't have a voice. So can we please know what you think about it?
I converted into a Dalit maybe 3-4 decades back. Because I started calling myself one. Before that, I had the typical middle class attitude that because of the reservation system, the merit is taking a back seat. When I joined the medical college, that was the first time I experienced what this merit was. All the students there came because of money. And all the workers there, particularly those who work with the anatomy department, are all Dalits. So that was the time I saw this great divide. It was not that these Dalits were all stupid. And they were staying in a colony. Then I went and I was working with them. Then I realized to what extent they are exploited. And that's why I started, whenever anybody asks, what's your caste? I say, I'm a Dalit. They say, oh, don't think you get reservation because of that. I said, I'm not calling myself a Dalit because I'm asking for reservation, I won't get that. But I'm identifying with them for their struggles. I'm a member of the Dalit Sangha Samiti. I've sat in Dharna with them. It is because they are the most oppressed. The SCs and STs, and I'm seeing in my place, they are a small percentage, but they are the most oppressed one. In fact, when I was a child, my journey towards atheism came with a question that came up in my mind. When I was 8 or 9 years old, I used to suffer from asthma. And my father went to an oracle, and that oracle said that I have to feed a Dalit woman. And this feeding the Dalit was a program which happened on an Amavasya day. She would be called, given a big heap of rice and some curry made with some horse gram, it will be heaped on that and she has to eat it. She'll wrap up the leaf and take it home, and then I have to pour a measured quantity of oil on her head. Some of the more broad-minded people would allow her to take it away in a bottle. But the narrow-minded one, no, it has to be poured on the head only, according to rituals. So they pour it on the head, and she will take it like this and apply it to the heads of her children, try to apply it on the body, try to put it into a coconut shell and take it home. This is what I saw. I asked my mother, why am I doing it? She said, it's for your bad luck. It will be transferred to her. I said, what happens to her and if she dies? She had 3 small kids with her. My mother said, shut up, don't talk. So that was the time I started questioning, maybe 60 years back.
Do you think, you have mentioned that education system, we are not taught to question. Do you think it's also has something to do with the teachers themselves not knowing the questions? Because
not knowing the answers.
Sorry, not knowing the answers.
Yes, it has something to do with that. Because I remember around 30 years back, I went to a village area called as Malur in Karnataka. There one program got cancelled because of something. So the man who was running the school, the correspondent as they call them, said, why don't you talk to my children? I said, okay. He said, talk about your topic. I said, my subject is something which is very difficult, biochemistry, which I teach medical students. So instead of that, let the children ask questions about medical things. about the human body. The program was supposed to be 1 hour from 11 to 12. You will not believe it, it went on up to 2 p.m. 8th, 9th, 10th standards children sitting and asking questions, skipping their lunch, and it was going on, it wouldn't come to a stop. But at 3 o'clock I had a public program, so I said I have to stop now. And the teachers came and asked me, our children have so many questions. I said, yes, if you give them an opportunity to ask. So that's it. Our children are never given an opportunity to ask. You go to a girls' school, exclusively girls' school, if you go, if the program is scheduled for 2 hours, it will take 4 hours. Generally they keep it in the afternoon so that the girls will go home by evening. Because if you keep it in the morning, the afternoon classes will get cancelled. Because the girls will say we want to continue. Because there were so many questions which were never answered.
So they shouldn't be silenced.
Yes, they shouldn't be silenced.
Can you tell us something about your work, sir, at FIRA and its work?
FIRA is the umbrella body. Even Atheist Center is a member. What we do is we come together on common issues and we have a common platform for fighting these common issues in which we are all in agreement. Our modus operandi may be different in our day-to-day activities. But the main idea is to take up those issues which affect us all, which are the most irrational, the most unsecular, the most undemocratic, and the ones which affect all of us equally.
Is it only organizations or can
only for organizations.
So if individuals want to be part of FIRA, what are...
Individuals have to start their own organization and then come to
Okay. Okay. Thanks a lot, sir. For
Thank you.
మరిన్ని కొత్త వీడియోల కోసం మా ఛానల్కి సబ్స్క్రైబ్ చేయండి, క్రింద ఉన్న బెల్ ఐకాన్ని యాక్టివేట్ చేయండి.